isn't it sort of the car version of a fake Louis Vuitton handbag?
I should warn you, there is a rant coming, so brace yourselves.
I love that it feels like an occasion, like you've sat in a party. I feel like Mini looked at their target demographic for this car and then absolutely nailed the driving requirements. You want to know what goes wrong with these? Do you want to see how they're aging, what they like to drive and live with? Most importantly, do you want to know if you should buy one of these or not? We're going to answer all of those questions, but first of all, we do need to explain this. First of all, if you love these because you're into the whole, British thing about these are about as British as sushi. See, Mini is owned by the Germans at BMW, and the car itself is actually built in the Netherlands, or India, or Malaysia, or Indonesia. It also shares a whole bunch of components with the BMW X1 and X2. Now, this generation, the F60, has been with us since 2017 and it wrapped up production in 2023. Although in its life cycle, Mini did update this in 2020 with the F60 LCI. Engine-wise, you're going to have a choice of 3 turbo petrols, 2 turbo diesels, and a turbo petrol plug-in hybrid. Now, power is generally sent just to the front wheels, but four-wheel drive versions are available, and that power is sent via traditional automatics or dual-clutch transmissions, depending on the year and the trim spec. But I tell you what, that whole depending on the year and trim spec thing, my God, what a shit show that can be. Now, fundamentally, the range consists of 6 models and they define what mechanical package you're going to get, but that is far too simple. The graphic we're about to show you are just the trim specs and special editions available just here in Australia. Internationally, there are even more. Are you ready? Look. I mean, it's almost like Mini looked at Colgate's bewildering array of different toothpastes and went, you know what? That's a good idea. Let's do that with the Countryman. But amazingly, to make things even more confusing, that doesn't include all the different option packs. But as insane as that all is, you then have all of the individual options like bonnet stripes or the mirror and roof being a different color to the rest of the car, to several different variants of leather for the interior. Now, this is all wonderful when you're buying one of these new because you can customize your Mini to whatever alignment your chakra is in on that particular day, but it can be a nightmare if you're buying one used. See, generally speaking, accessories don't add much to the value of a car, but when it comes to negotiating a price, how do you decide what black mirror caps and a malt brown Chester leather interior is actually worth on the used market? But look, speaking of what these are worth, the very cheapest examples here in Australia are asking just under $20,000. The most expensive ones, around the $80,000 mark. But no matter what budget you're working at, please don't get ripped off with some dodgy car finance deal. To make sure that doesn't happen, hit the Driver link down there. I'm not going to go through all the specific details right now, but just know Driver pretty much exists to get you the best possible finance deal. Plus, if you do sort your finance via that link, we're going to give you $150 worth of free fuel. It doesn't get any better than that. Now, look, as far as the aesthetics go, I'm really torn on these. I love old school Minis, and I feel like if Mini as a brand kept with that minimalist, small, simple approach, the brand would have more legitimacy. This is hardly Mini anymore, is it? It's a big thing. But then on the flip side, I do love that this isn't just another boring looking SUV. I love that it has genuine design flair. It's not just another box on wheels. Excellent. But then on the flip side, in Countryman form, isn't it sort of the car version of a fake Louis Vuitton handbag, trying to convince us that it's connected to the original brand image when clearly it's not? But what do you think? I honestly, I can't decide. Part of me loves the way this looks, the other part not so much. What do you think? Now, there's so many variants and trim specs and options. If I were to take you through all of the features in this video, we would be here for bloody days. But at the very least, you're going to get all of this. But look, move up the range and chances are, if there's a feature you want, there will be a Countryman with it fitted. For example, want a bigger screen and a premium 12-speaker sound system? Done. Want heated seats and a little fold-out picnic bench? Done. How about 19-inch alloys, Brembo brakes, performance driving modes, and all of the aesthetic go-fast bits to match? Easy, get one of the several John Cooper Works editions. Want Apple CarPlay and Android Auto? Done. Sort of, as long as the car is a post-2020 model or was optioned with that tech from new. The only drama is many examples haven't been optioned, and it is ridiculous that a premium brand hasn't included that tech as standard from new. Look, the best way to make sense of what stuff you're going to get on each example is to jump on ReDriven.com and check out this car's completely free cheat sheet. It's going to answer all of the questions you have. Now, as far as design-wise goes and living with it, I love this interior. I love that it feels like an occasion, like you've sat in a party. Now, many online are criticizing this for just being all style over substance, but I completely disagree. Yes, there's a lot of design stuff going on here, but it does all make sense. And when you get used to what buttons do and how everything works, it's really easy to live with. I'm just wrapped it's not another boring SUV interior. Even using all the functionality, like the buttons are all in really good spaces, the ergonomics are fantastic, the seats so comfortable, great driving position, plenty of adjustability. Yeah, it's full on in looks, but it all works. Actually, just on the seats, some people have complained about the seat comfort, and look, I'll admit, it doesn't feel weirdly like a traditional car seat. Like I feel like I'm getting a slightly odd massage in different parts of my body, but I quite enjoy it. But look, practicality wise, you have an okay sized glove box, really good sized door bins, spot perfectly sized for your phone just here, 2 cup holders here. There's more storage under the armrest, including a USB-C port, and this pops open for more storage under there. Now, as far as wear and tear in this particular car, this is this family's everyday driver, gets a hell of a workout. Really good, still good texture on the steering wheel. The leather on the seats still feels really supple. The Alcantara trim bits are getting a little bit grotty. That's gonna happen anyway. No scratches, really good condition. Look, obviously each example is gonna vary, but on this particular car, 67,000 Ks, 2019 model, excellent for wear and tear. Now in the back seat, I'm exactly 10 centimeters taller than another Mini Driver. This is in my driving position. Excellent back here, loads of knee room, heaps of foot room. The seats themselves are really comfy, plus you can slide them back and forth and you can change the recline position, which is excellent. Also, it's a dark interior in here, but because the glass house is so large, you don't feel claustrophobic. If I were a child, this would be a very pleasant place to be for long periods of time. Wear and tear back here, as I said, this does get used all of the time. You'd never know. It feels like a brand new car, no wear and tear. Then as far as practicality in the back seat, excellent. Map pockets, air vents, USB-C ports, excellent sized door bins, 2 of them per door, plus the armrest with a transformer style cup holder setup. Excellent back seat. Then as far as practicality in the boot goes, look, in its standard form, not fantastic practicality back here, but there is more. Under the actual boot floor, you have all of this extra space, and then you can fold the seats flat, but I can't see anywhere that you can fold them flat from back here. You've got to go around to the side. Oh, like that. Bit annoying. Okay, so what's it like to drive? I feel like Mini looked at their target demographic for this car and then absolutely nailed the driving requirements. The Countryman, it feels more, let's say, theatrical than the vast majority of other SUVs in this market. A lot of that is due to the interior design, but the car's just dynamics have a big part to play too. For example, the steering feel is just the right level of sporty and direct. The ride is firm, but without feeling rough. It just feels super planted and confident on the road. It's not hot hatch levels of fun through the corners, but for an SUV of this size, it's pretty bloody good. Also, it makes all the right sounds. There's a bit of turbo flutter. The exhaust sounds just the right level of angry. Plus, because the vision out of it is so good, it is an absolute breeze to park and deal with traffic. Now, a few journos have complained that they feel that the Cooper S needs more power, but surely that's what the John Cooper Works editions are for. But I don't know, I don't think this is lacking for power at all. Again, for what owners or buyers of this car require, this engine delivers. It just feels special and unique to drive. It's also fun all of the time, and it does feel premium. It matches the badge. But the question is, does it offer premium badge levels of safety? Well, to take you through the safety features of the Countryman, how about we have a Countryman explain?
6 airbags, ABS, electronic stability control, traction control, active cruise control, forward collision warning, city crash mitigation, autonomous emergency braking, 2 ISOFIX positions, and so much more. It's a very safe car. Yay.
Now, Mini haven't built themselves a great reputation for build quality or reliability. Can the same be said for these? How about we start with the exterior? Well, you know what? It's actually pretty good news. Not a whole lot goes wrong. Although there are some owners that have reported electronic gremlins, such as the boot opening mechanism not working, the rear lights playing up, the sunroof either not opening or closing, and the rear wiper playing up. Also on the topic of wiper blades, don't go paying ridiculous sums of money for OEM replacements. Hit the link down below to get 15% off and free express shipping on a set of WiperTech blades. They're honestly some of the best blades we've ever used. Otherwise, a few owners have complained that the paint is a bit on the thin side. It can scratch and mark really easily. Also, some of the chrome finishes can bubble up when it gets really hot. Now, a common problem is inside. Honestly, it's a bit like the exterior. Not a whole lot goes wrong. There are the odd electrical gremlins reported, like certain buttons not working, the heated seats just not heating, but those complaints are few and far between. Although some owners have complained that they just don't feel the interior build quality is up to scratch, especially for what these cost and the whole Mini Premium badge thing. They're already feeling some squeaks and rattles. This car, none. It feels super tight, but yeah, some of them, a little on the loosey-goosey side. Oh, and also according to one Countryman owner that we spoke to, she claimed that these things are nowhere near as resilient to her abusive children as her previous Mazda 6 was. Actually, just on the owners, a massive thank you to Henry for lending us the family's car, and also to all of the Mini Countryman owners groups. You guys are amazing. We couldn't have made this video without you. But look, mechanically, what goes wrong with these? I can't tell you. I'm not a qualified mechanic, but Jim is.
Now, before I get into the mechanical stuff, I should warn you, there is a rant coming, so brace yourselves. I'll start with the diesels today. Look, overall, these are, so far, considerably more reliable than the previous generation, so far. But what is very disappointing is that the B47 engines are much like the old N47 engines. They are still, if you can believe it, having issues with timing chains. How is that even a thing? Sometimes they just stretch and they rattle, and sometimes they just fail altogether, which usually destroys the engine. And because the design, like the old ones, the timing chains are at the back of the engine, it means to repair them when something does go wrong, you've got to take the engine out, or usually the transmission out, just to get at it. Now that is always going to be extremely expensive, and for a relatively common problem, it's just ridiculous. Other issues they have, which are slightly less expensive, they are known for having some turbo complications, and usually that's from oil starvation. They can also have the boost actuator play up as well. Less expensive, but you know, it does happen. They do occasionally have some turbo complications. Sometimes that's just the wastegate actuator. Sometimes it's the actual turbo itself fails. And usually when that fails, it's due to lack of oil. And speaking of oil, there are plenty of owners out there that are frequently getting low oil level warning lights and complaining about oil consumption. Now, these things don't actually have a dipstick, so they do have a low oil level sensor. But for an engine that uses a lot of oil, you really want to hope that that low oil level sensor is working properly. By the way, sometimes they don't. They do have their usual fair share of DPF and EGR complications, but to be fair, no more frequently than anything else in this category. Now onto the petrols. The B38 and B48 are part of BMW's modular engine lineup. That's great. It keeps the production costs low, and I'm sure they pass on all those savings to the customers, right? As long as those customers are shareholders. They do share a lot of parts, which is a good thing, but they also share a lot of their problems. Some of those problems that they share are, surprise, surprise, timing chains again, which is again unbelievable. And just like the diesel, it is at the back of the engine, and it's about a 12-hour repair by the time you take the gearbox out and fix the timing chain. I don't know what BMW are going to charge, but it is thousands. So if you've got timing chain issues, really brace yourself for a proper fisting. Obviously, I mean a fistful of cash. Well, I don't know what you were thinking. Get your mind out of the gutter. Other issues, they too are suffering from oil consumption, and if they're not burning oil, they're leaking it. Plenty of reports of leaking valve covers, timing covers, and sumps. They all seem to leak oil. There are a few reports of failed engine mounts. That's not going to break the bank. It's just par for the course, really. They're very soft from the factory, and they do wear out quickly. And also plenty of reports of leaking water pumps and thermostat housings as well. They're pretty fragile. As for the hybrid, there really hasn't been that many of them sold comparatively. And when there are so few numbers of something on the road like that, it is very hard to get accurate reliability statistics. Now, you might have noticed that some of the petrol and diesel issues are the same type of problems. The common denominator here is the service schedules. Okay, you ready? Here comes the rant. BMW or Mini, they keep pushing the condition-based servicing or the extended service intervals, whatever you want to call it. Now that is a huge contributor to the premature failure and overall reliability of these engines. If you own one, you really must service it at least every 10,000 kilometres. These extended service intervals are, in my opinion, a bit of a scam. They're designed so that they just keep the engine and transmission healthy enough, just long enough to make it through the warranty period. And the owners are kept happy with slightly less expensive servicing costs, and that keeps them happy enough to roll straight into the next new shiny model before they get to see or pay for the detrimental effects of the long-term service schedules. So many of these virtue signalling car manufacturers that claim to be saving the planet by making the most efficient engines possible and meeting all the emissions standards, what they really should be doing if they want to save the planet is making a car that lasts more than 5 years before it's rooted by dodgy servicing. It kills engines and makes perfectly good cars worthless. One more thing, if you're looking to buy one of these and it's being advertised with a full dealership service history, I would definitely not buy it. This condition-based servicing is pretty much a scam. You need one that's been looked after and serviced every 10,000 Ks.
Okay, so after all of that, should you buy one of these? Look, there are plenty of other SUVs on the market that make more logical sense than one of these, but if you're the sort of person that will happily spend serious money on a sculpture or maybe some artwork for your home, well, maybe the Countryman is for you. Some people prioritize reliability and value for money. Others focus on performance. The Mini exists for those that value aesthetics and brand appeal, and that's just as valid a purchasing point as any. Luckily, and arguably unlike Minis that came before this one, this isn't a reliability nightmare. It still ticks all of the SUV boxes, and all of the owners that we spoke to adore theirs. Look, obviously it's not a risk-free choice, but just make sure you do all of your due diligence. And it's a cautious yes from us. Yeah, you should buy one. However, if this is too much of a risk for you and maybe you prefer your designs to be a little bit more edgy, maybe look at one of these instead. The question for you, if you weren't to buy that or this, what would you buy instead? Let us know in the comments. See you next time. Yeah. Come on. I appreciate the help, but you're not helping. You're not helping. Oh, hi.